Hello you guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Daisy Zamora. Thank you so much for being here. Today is currently Sunday. The week is winding down, getting ready for working tomorrow. But I thought I would sit down today and make this video. From my other videos, for those who have seen them, I've kind of hinted at some changes going on in my life that have happened as of recently. Actually, in my first video, I mentioned that in the last 2 weeks at the time, my life had somehow had a huge change apart from just simply losing my sister. So actually it's been now exactly about a little bit over a month. I actually ended up having to get a pacemaker. So it's been kind of crazy. That's why I had some time off. So it actually happened, I want to say, so my surgery happened on May 14. May 14. So it happened on May 14. The day before though, which was a Friday, I had woken up feeling a little bit tired, which actually has started since Thursday-ish. I had been feeling a little bit tired, just not really myself. And the only thing that I could feel that was off was that in the middle of kind of like right here on my chest, I felt some sort of kind of like pressure, right? And I was just like, no, nothing's going on. I'm just like, maybe I'm overthinking this, no big deal. But I still feel kind of tired. During that time, I had come from going to Tahoe, which we ended up not even doing anything. So I thought it was just a drive, because about a little bit over 4-hour drive. So I thought I was just tired from the day. But then on Friday, that day, actually on Thursday, sorry, I keep going back and forth. On Thursday, I was at my boyfriend's place, and he had just gotten not an Apple Watch, but a smartwatch. And he was telling me about how he wanted to change the bands and what I think. And as I put on his watch, he lets me know like, hey, it also changes your heart rate. So then I was like, oh, cool. So I go on to check mine, and then it says that it can't read it. Something's off. And he's like, you know what, maybe you should go get it checked or something's going on. I'm like, no, it's fine. But in the back of my mind, I was freaking out. I was just like, no, like I can't show that I'm freaking out. So I kept it calm, and I rarely wear my Apple Watch. I worked as a server at a sushi restaurant for almost 8 years. So I would only wear it when I was at work, and as the moment I was off work, I would just take it off, So anyways, I decided to just put it on, and yeah, it rang up letting me know that my heart rate was lower than the normal. Still, I was like naive, not wanting to accept it. So either way, I decided to just put on my watch and go to sleep with it. I had never done that. So anyways, I decided to put on my watch. I go to bed, and then yep, sure enough, like at 3 or 4 in the morning, my Apple Watch starts going off, ringing, saying, hey, we've caught you in the last 10 minutes straight, that your heart rate has been at 40 or lower than 40. And I'm freaking out. And for those who don't know, your heart rate typically needs to be around 60 to 100. That's the range, So that was the first one. And I was like, no. Still, I'm not being able to sleep, but still like naive and just like not wanting to accept it. I still go to bed. It keeps going off. It keeps going off. It keeps going off. Keep going off. At 4 in the morning, I just couldn't sleep. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to have to go to the emergency room. I waited for my parents to go to work and everything, and I get up around 8 something, 9ish, and I make myself over to the emergency room. So I go to the emergency room, and I fill up the form that they make you to fill up, and I let them know like, hey, my heart rate has been this low for X amount of time. And then within like maybe like, I want to say like less than 4 minutes, 5 minutes, I get called in right away. Right away as I get called in, they hook me up to an EKG. EKG couldn't read me. They still try. And then they finally had me hooked up to the machine to get me going and to see what my, my heart rate's like. And at the time, my heart rate was like, I think it went from 50, which I thought it was normal, and then it dipped to the 40s. And then I get asked the question, you know, do you work out a lot? Are you an athlete and everything? And I'm like, no, I absolutely don't do none of that. I don't work out. I'm not an athlete. I don't play any sports, none of that. Because they said that if you do those things, that it's very common for your heart rate to be that low. But I did not fit that criteria. But my blood pressure was fine. My oxygen level was perfect. Still didn't know what was going on. They started some blood work, got an IV going, all that stuff, and the doctor tells me, you know what, like, a physician was there, and she's like, you know what, I think you'll be fine. You know, we want you to follow with your regular doctor, and we're gonna get all that paperwork, you know, ready for you guys and for you, and you'll be able to leave. So as I'm waiting in the bed, she said she's gonna have somebody come take off the IV or whatever. As I'm laying there, probably like 10 minutes go by, and she comes back in and she tells me, you know what, our cardiologist got here. I'm actually gonna have him review your chart and see what he thinks. And in my head, I'm thinking like, no deal, I'm just gonna go home, like everything's gonna be fine. She says that I'm fine, you know. Anyways, she comes in probably 5 minutes after she's left to go show my chart to the cardiologist, who then tell me that they want me for me to stay the night for observation. That they don't feel comfortable sending me home because it's off, right? But she tells me, you know what, like, just stay over the night. We just want to make sure that everything's fine, everything's great. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I'm just gonna spend the night. I'm gonna get it over with, because they didn't feel comfortable me sending me home because I wouldn't be able to see my doctor until possibly Monday, being that it was a Friday and the weekend was coming. So I was like, you know what, better safe than sorry. That's what I've learned. Anyways, so also I will mention that Saturday, the following day, I was supposed to go wine tasting with my aunt, who was her birthday, and we were all gonna go and celebrate for her birthday. We were gonna go wine tasting. So anyways, I finally able to message my family, and because of COVID, they didn't let they didn't let them really see me. Thankfully, my boyfriend was there, who came by and dropped off a charger and other stuff that I was gonna need, and because he was already there, they actually allowed him to stay, so I wasn't alone. But while I was there at the emergency room, they started doing a bunch of other testing, one of them being a heart ultrasound, which I didn't know at the time, but apparently I had a heart murmur that I never ever knew about. Anyway, still I'm like, not really knowing what's going on. And then a little bit after, I get another cardiologist who comes in to reevaluate me and let me know. And the thought of a pacemaker, or the conversation of a pacemaker, did come up, but it was one of those things where she tells me, you know what, last like worst case scenario that would be, but you know what, you're young, you know, everything else looks fine, like, you know, this is gonna be just to be sure that nothing's off. And I get that in my head, like everything's gonna be fine. Anyways, so I spend the night there. I get admitted. I spend the night, and they actually gave me a shot of heparin, I believe. So it's a blood thinner. So because my heart rate was so low, they were scared that I was gonna produce, or it produces blood clots. So they wanted to make sure that I was, you know, okay in that sense. So they did a shot of heparin. I think I ended up getting like 2 of those, if I'm not mistaken. And it burns. Like, when it hits you, you kind of feel it, but then it burns after. And you get those like on your abdomen or whatever. Anyways, well, I'm at the hospital and everything like that. I'm trying to stay positive, you know. I'm like, okay, I just need to be brave. Like, everything's gonna be fine. But it was hard. I will say it was hard. There was a lot of I say mind over matter, or whatever you want to call it, and it was just like, at that point I felt kind of hopeless, and like I wasn't sure, right? Now I'm sitting here thinking, you know, I'm young, there is no way this is happening. And I don't know if my chart was going around, the people didn't know what they were doing at the hospital, but every single time they would come in to take my vitals, the RNs would tell me, oh, that's weird, your heart rate's so low. And I'll be like, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm admitted, you know. Anyway, so I'm in the hospital trying to stay positive. The next morning comes around, and I'm in my head, I'm like, I'm getting ready to leave. I'm like, dude, let's do this. I'm gonna go wine tasting. It's gonna be great. And I'm having breakfast, and I'm texting my sister also at the time, letting her know like, hey, because they had told me at the time I might be leaving like maybe like a 10 or 11 or something. So I'm like, hey, well, if I get out of here, you know, I'm gonna go home, shower, and then we can leave. So that's what was going on. And then out of the blue, a doctor comes in and lets me know, because at the time I had asked, I'm still waiting on cardiology or cardiologist to let me know what are the results, because they've done so much testing of what could it be. They check for Lyme disease, blood work, anything, you name it. I got everything. I was hooked up to an EKG all the time I was there. They didn't even let me take off my Apple Watch. So let me just keep it on, And what was crazy is that it was exactly the heart rate that I said that my Apple Watch was saying that I had. It was exactly what the machines were showing. So I knew it wasn't lying. So the cardiologist comes in and looks at me and is like, hey, just to let you know, we're getting your paperwork ready. We're gonna fly you out to CHOMP. And CHOMP is another hospital here in Monterey, the community hospital, Monterey Peninsula. And I'm like, what? I look at my boyfriend and I'm like, what did she just say? She's like, yeah, we're gonna do a pacemaker. And I'm like, whoa. Like, I'm completely in shock, don't know what to say, don't know what to do. And I'm like, God, I need to call my family. And I don't want to be one freaking out crying because I don't want to make them worry. So I text my sister to break the news to my parents at that time that, hey, this is going on. First, they were going to take me to the ambulance, but it was going to take too long. But then finally, they're like, you know, we're going to fly you out. It's going to be within the next, like, 10 minutes at the time. It was 12. I think at 12:15, the helicopter or whatever was going to get there. So I'm just sitting there dumbfounded about what's about to happen to me. Had never gotten a surgery before other than my LASIK. But that's, you know, nothing under anesthesia or none of that stuff. So I'm trying to come to terms with it and trying to be mentally strong for myself, for my family, for my boyfriend, for everybody, so that no one freaks out. Because if they see me freak out, then they're gonna freak out. So anyways, so I'm there, hooked up to an EKG. They're trying to get like a reading before I leave. And then before I knew it, I had like 10 people around my bed. It was like 2 of the people that were gonna be like the I'm assuming the paramedics on the plane. So I had those 2. I had my registered nurse. I had like 3 other people that were there, and then the one that was gonna discharge me, and then another nurse walked in that was gonna have me hooked up an EKG to get a reading and all this other stuff, right? So I'm just sitting there like, what's going on? Yeah, sure enough, they get me on the plane, and you know, it was actually at the time that I'm getting ready to leave that, you know, amazing people. His name was Chris, and then the other one, I forgot her name, maybe Caitlin. I think it might have been Caitlin, I'm not sure. But anyways, I remember the guy, I think his name was Chris, and he started explaining to me what I have going on, where I haven't really gotten the answers. He explains to me, what's going on is that you have 4 chambers of your heart. Your 2 top chambers and your 2 bottom chambers are not, you know, vibing. That's what she said, like the music, right? So the 2 top chambers want to hear one type of music, the bottom one wants to hear a different type of music, and they're just not signaling, so the signal's not going through. And while I was at the hospital, they let me know that my heart rate at one point for like, I think about like 20 or 30 seconds or whatever it was, it dipped in the 20s, you know? And then they found out that I had a complete AV block. That's the way they explain it. You have a level 1, a level 2, a level 3. I went from a normal level 1, and then it went to level 3, completely heart block. Meaning I could have gotten a stroke, a heart attack, fainted, or whatever. And the only symptom I really had was the fact that I had like a slight, I don't want to say like tightness in my chest, but a little bit. So then that was it. And then I get flown out to Monterey, where we land at the airport there, and then we have an ambulance take me then to the hospital. As we're getting to the hospital, they're like, no, we're going to send you to the emergency room and then the intensive care unit because of how bad they assume I was coming. But keep in mind, I'm like, oh, you want me to get off from this bed to the gurney? I could do that myself. Like, it was so crazy to them to see me in my state where I wasn't struggling, you know, to get up or like feeling out of breath or none of that stuff. It was really a weird, freaky situation that they couldn't explain. And anyways, so I'm there and I'm freaking out, and I'm starting to get all these messages from my family being like, you know what, stay strong, like your sister's with you. You know, my sister Vanessa passed away. She's like, she's looking down on you, she's there for you, and she's guiding you. And I felt, at that point, I felt a little alone, kind of unsure. And then, so then we're in the intensive care unit, and they're like, no, we're gonna send you to their main because you're pretty stable. We're gonna just wait for surgery. And the craziest thing happened to me, and it's not by coincidence, and it wasn't something just out of the blue. I know my sister was there with me. As I'm sitting on a gurney, you know, and the paramedics ask me, oh, Daisy, are you good? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm totally fine. And I'm thinking about my sister. I'm praying at that moment. I'm praying to her to show me a sign that she's with me. And as I turn to my right, there's the computers. So if, obviously people that go to the hospital, you see the registered nurses have the computers on the hallways where they're constantly obviously charting. And I turn to my right and I see a computer and the screen's off. But on the corner, like where you turn it on the monitor, there's a little tag, like the ones they use for a sticky note. And it literally says Vanessa. Nothing more, just Vanessa. And that's my little sister's name. Her name is Vanessa. And it was like the weirdest feeling where I instantly felt okay. Like at that point, I knew that I wasn't alone, that she was with me, that she was going to be guiding me and everything. And it was like the craziest feeling at that point where I felt safe. I felt okay. It was the craziest thing. And, you know, from that moment on, it was, I would say, like, it was like smooth sailing. They got me to my bed. I got in touch with my registered nurse, which was amazing. Everybody that I saw there were absolutely amazing, took care of me, and everybody was like, you know what, you're high priority. If you need anything, let us know. Everybody, not just me. So they're registered nurses who know that the moment you hit that call bell, we're gonna be here because you're high priority. And it feels so good. And then my family was finally able to be there, which was great. And you know, I felt okay. It felt the essence of my sister there, and I knew that she was with me at that point, and I knew that I was gonna be okay. Funny story. I'm gonna kind of veer off a little bit here. While we were there, so my cardiologist, the surgeon, comes in and tells me, okay, well, this is what's gonna go on. I ended up getting a pacemaker called Micra. Hopefully I'm saying it right. All the Micra. I'll show you guys right now. I'll throw like maybe like a picture or something so you can see. It's super small. Anyways, it goes through the thigh and they shimmy it up to your heart. So super small. You don't get like a scar or anything like that. Super small. So she let me know like the procedure was gonna take about 45 minutes, give or take, and that that it should be fine. The next day I was gonna be ready to go home, and she let me know, do you want to like do the surgery right now, or do you want to do it tomorrow? I'm like, I'm already here, you're gonna have to do it. I mean, it's not like this heart block's gonna go away on its own. So I told her, you know what, just do it. I feel fine. And at that point she lets me know everything that's gonna go down, how it's gonna be pushed through here and all this other stuff. And as you know, my mom gets super pale, like pale and yellow. And my boyfriend's mom looks at her, she's like, are you okay? My mom's like, no, sí estoy bien. She instantly starts going like this. So then we're like, oh crap, she's gonna faint. And anyways, my friend goes out and tells my own registered nurse that my mom's about to faint. They take off my blood pressure cuff because they have me hooked on the whole time, because they're constantly checking it every few minutes to see how I'm doing manually from wherever they're at. And they put it on her and they check that her heart rate's low, like her blood pressure's low. And we started making fun of it because I was like, okay, there's only be one person in this bed. There's no need for you to take my shine, mom. But you know, I felt like I had to make fun of the situation. I couldn't be serious. I couldn't be, you know, so negative. I knew that it was up to me to change this, I'm not saying narrative, but this storyline. You know, I could learn a lot from this. So anyways, they let me know, hey, you know, surgery's gonna happen. I get rolled out, and at that moment, the person that's taking me out tells me, hey, your heart rate's fine. And I'm like, what? I was like, am I being like, you know, like lied to? Like, I don't really need surgery? And I go into the operating room. He lets my doctor know, like, hey, she seems fine. And she's like, you know what, give her some time. I can show you that it's gonna dip. And sure enough, my heart rate was fine, and then it starts just dipping, hits 40s, and it's low. As I'm in the operating table, they start asking me, do I have any questions, all this other stuff. And in my head, I'm just thinking, like, I remember I told him, when am I gonna wake up? And he's like, no, you're gonna be like going through like local anesthesia, or you're gonna be like aware. That's what he had told me. That's what I remember he said. Whether it be true, I'm not sure. Anyways, as we're there, they have like country music playing. The doctors, everybody's having a good time, and it made me feel really comfortable. They're wearing obviously their operating hats, and they're like, oh, this is a party, how come no one gave her a hat? So then they start obviously putting me one on, and then they had me lay on the bed, which I didn't know, but they actually cuff you to the bed because they say that depending on anesthesia and how it reacts to you, you might start shaking, you might start moving. And I was like, what? But they make it fun because they're like, we're gonna put some friendship bracelets on you, you know. And then one of the person tells me, I think he was one of the surgeons that was going to be working on me, he's like, are you nervous? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, me too. And I started laughing. I'm like, you're supposed to be operating on me, you're nervous. But it was all fun and games. And then the anesthesiologist tells me, hey, I'm going to give you something, or I'm going to start this oxygen to, like, you know, take the edge off. And the other doctor's like, oh, you know, you should probably give me some so I can take the edge off because I'm kind of nervous too. But I remember just looking sideways as they're working on me, because they let me know that in surgery, as they were gonna do the pacemaker through my thigh that was gonna go to my heart, they were gonna temporarily attach one to my neck just in case something would went wrong or my heart stopped, that they would be able to shock my heart, so they would be able to get, you know, faster, you know, shock to my heart or whatever it was. So I remember just looking sideways, and next thing you know, like, I remember waking up, and I remember, like, when are we starting? And they're like, we're done. And yeah, they rolled me out of bed. Remember just starting opening my eyes and seeing everything, and I was just like, oh my god, I made it. Like, I actually survived this. And at that point, they let me know that I couldn't move my thigh for at least 3 hours, because they had done, like, I think a couple of stitches, which I would have gotten. I got removed the following day. I don't know if they were like paper or whatever you want to call them. And I had like a thing here on my neck, and then obviously on my thigh. And they let me know that after a couple hours, if I wanted to, I could start getting up and wanted to walk around. And I'm like, I'm cool, I could do this. So I go on to, like, try to get up, and as I try to get up, I start getting dizzy, and I was like, okay, maybe I should probably take it a little slow. Like, I shouldn't push myself as much as I'm trying to push myself to do this. But yeah, I laid down that day. My family had to leave because no one could stay there with me, which was fine. I was fine. And my nurse, she constantly came to check on me. What I really appreciated was the fact that she's like, hey, if you're sleeping, I'm not even gonna wake you up, which was great. And she would only come and help me once in a while to, like, flip and turn because my neck was sore. And then sure enough, the next day, well, even that day after I got my pacemaker put on, they have their own tech people, because I guess it is managed wirelessly. That's what they told me. And they were finding the settings. And then the next day, he came back at around 8 o'clock. A little bit before that, the nurse got there. I was able to eat something, and she took off the stitches on my leg, on my thigh or whatever. And then the tech person that was there in surgery when they did the surgery for my pacemaker was there. So they were checking all the different settings and everything, make sure that everything was working perfectly, best on me and, like, what I needed or whatever. And it was crazy because while I was there, he would, like, raise the heart rate, I don't know, high, and I could feel it, like, going crazy. But they made me do a couple of testing where I had to get up from my bed, come down, sit down, like, 3 times to figure out, like, some sort of setting. And then they pretty much let me go. At that point, I called my sister, let her know that I was gonna get off and everything and get out, and all I had to do was go to the restroom to make sure that I was able to, you know, go, which I did. And then the registered nurse tells me, you know what, you seem pretty good. I don't think it's gonna take a little while if I call for a wheelchair. And it's like, but you seem fine. And I actually ended up walking from my bed down outside to the lobby and got in my sister's car, and I came back home on that day, able to walk from the hospital after just getting surgery, like, probably 12 hours prior to that. And when I left, they let me know things were gonna be different. Obviously, that was I gotta get used to this new pacemaker. At first, I did feel a lot of pressure. I felt like my heart was gonna jump out of my chest of how hard I felt like it was going, and just feeling more like out of breath, more, you know, out of it. And so it took me a couple of days for me to get used to it. I feel at times the best way for me was like standing. I couldn't be sitting down because the moment I lay down, I feel like I felt it more than when I was standing. So that was different for me. But overall, had a great experience. Happy to be alive. Thank God. You know, I never thought this was something that at my age I would go through it. You know, I'm 28 years old, and you know, it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. I was told about the things that I could and couldn't do, like not go through like metal detectors, being more aware of like if you're getting an MRI, how the doctor or they call a tech person who comes and shuts it off temporarily, puts a block on it because you don't want to mix the wavelengths that the machine is giving to your heart, because it's its own wavelengths. And I ended up getting through the mail this little blue card. Let's suppose to the airport, I would show them this, and then they would redirect me to a different area so I can go through TSA, so I don't have to go through that little thing that you stand there and then they check you, just because I do have a pacemaker. So that's the thing that's been different. Also, as far as like my phone goes, I can't have my phone so close to my chest. It has to be at least 6 inches away from my chest, because the Bluetooth or the wireless, I don't know what it is, wavelengths or electricity, I don't know, I'm learning, guys. It can interfere. What I'll do is I'll turn it off, and the moment I take it off, it can restart, you know. My pacemaker is a little bit different, being that it's a newer model. It's a lot smaller. The one that I currently have, the battery life is about 15 years, and then after that I have to get a new attachment to it for another 15 years, and finally a third one, which would be 45 years. And then after that, I could no longer use that type of pacemaker. I have to get a different one. But my doctor said, you know what, technology is so advanced now, maybe by the time, you know, you need a change in that way, it might be like something totally different where they just zap it and then you have it charged. At this point, I still don't know exactly 100% what caused it at this point in my life, being that it was an AV block. I do have to do like monthly testing. Well, now I have like every 3 months. But what they do give me is this little machine, where, let me show it to you guys. It's off right now. But anyways, it's a little machine. And all you do is, when I have to send information out, or when I've gone to my cardiologist appointment, all they do is that they put this next to where my pacemaker are, and lights here light up. And then I have them hooked up to an app on my phone, which sends that information to the hospital or to my doctor or the facility. Anyways, they sense it, and then they're able to see what my pacemaker is telling them. So it's kind of cool, I guess, half Iron Man or something. I don't know. You know, you sometimes have to make the light of the situation. You know, you can't just be Debbie Downer all the time. I mean, I can't change it. It's happening. I have it. Might as well live with it, right? But anyways, at this point, it's considered to be a temporary. I'm still waiting on other results. Hopefully, I don't have any Lyme disease or any of that kind of weird stuff. I did go back on my phone, and I realized that I didn't really catch it, but at one point since 2018, it's been one time in the 30s. But obviously, I didn't wear my Apple Watch long enough for it to really go off, because the reason it went off was because for 10 minutes straight, it caught me at such a low point, you know. And at my work, I was constantly walking, so it's like my heart rate obviously stays up, but it wasn't until I was resting that I would have such a low rate, like heart rate. So I'm definitely blessed and happy to be alive. I know even after when I went through with my sister and everything like that, I know she was definitely looking out for me. It was definitely a low point in my life. I did meet up with my regular doctor as a follow-up later, and she expressed to me, you know what, you're lucky to be alive. Because had you been somewhere else, maybe flying or whatever it is, the altitude and the pressure and all this other random stuff, or something random would have happened. Let's suppose I'm up there and all of a sudden I get a stroke. I don't know how many thousand feet in the air, I mean, I could have died. So pretty much, I mean, I'm really blessed to be alive. Um, as I continue, hopefully I will get a better understanding or answers as to what have caused it. Um, I know at the time they were trying to figure out if it was possibly out of like an infection or any type of diseases and stuff that could have triggered it. Obviously, as of now, all I know that is that it is an AV block level 3. So it's like, I guess you could say it's the worst. I mean, that's a complete heart block. I mean, yeah. But apart from that, you know, I've learned a lot through all of this, and I am more grateful and more thankful as of it. I mean, I know that after I got out of there, I was very much in tune and in thinking about like, hey, I've been starting YouTube. I've been putting off just starting my life in some sort of way because of fear. And here you have, I won't say death knocking at my door, but a reality check in that way of being like, hey, you know, life can be taken away from you. There is no planning of, hey, I'm gonna wait to do this for another 10 years because I'm not ready. It's like, no, you have to do it now, because, you know, you never know. You absolutely never know. And I think going through, well, like losing my sister just 14 years old, she showed me like, hey, you know what? Getting old is never guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. It really is a blessing to hopefully get to be that age and be old one day, but it's not guaranteed, and it's not for certain for everybody. I have a new appreciation of life. I understand that, you know, it's up to me to make things happen for myself, and that I ultimately do have control over my life apart from even this situation. I'm in control of how I perceive it and how I take it in. It's up to me to really make my life be everything it can be. And this is just one bump in the road for me, and if anything, I'm more thankful and blessed, and I am huge appreciation for life, you know. And I feel like everybody can learn from my situation and maybe be better people because of it. So yeah, I really wanted to make this video. I know I've hinted other times like, hey, there's been things going on, or randomly would say something about my pacemaker, but yeah, I mean, I hope that my story will help other people in understanding that, hey, if you feel something's off, just go and get it checked. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is like, they're fine, you can get to go home. And that's what it was for me. I mean, when I went and they were going to send me home, they're like, you know what, at least you got out of the way. But then I ended up having to stay. Later on, I came to find out there was certain symptoms that I just didn't really associate. One of them, big one, was being tired. I was always tired, and people would be like, oh my god, you're just so lazy, like all this other stuff. But no, I was tired, and that's one of the symptoms for, you know, low heart rate. I was, you know, technically diagnosed, if you want to, with an AV block and bradycardia when your heart rate is lower than the normal. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot of things that I kind of just saw them as like, oh, no big deal. And being tired was one of them, as crazy as it sounds. My sister makes jokes that the only reason I stayed alive for such a long time is because, for one, I love Coca-Cola and I love coffee. So it's just like, if anything, that probably kept you alive for as long as it did, which, hey, it might have. I will say my diet has remained the same. Nothing has changed. I'm not under any medication whatsoever, which is great. So fairly normal. I'm able to return at my normal life. I mean, there are certain things that I have to watch out for, like I mentioned before, like having my phone out too close, making sure I let my other doctors know what's going on, and other things like such as that. But apart from that, I've been able to kind of return to my normal life. There's certain things like alcohol and stuff that I am more like mindful of it, obviously. Like I said before, if something feels off and you feel it in your gut, you need to do something about it, because, you know, you never know. And oftentimes your gut doesn't lie to you. I know for a fact that my sister was looking out for me, and she was guiding me, and it is through her and her strength that has allowed me to continue my life and understand that, hey, like, I do have a second chance at life, and it's up to me to, you know, take control of my life and make the best, you know, do the best that I can to make it worthwhile. And, you know, I know that tomorrow's not promised. Everybody says that, but it's not until you're hit with a certain situation that you're able to really like open up your eyes to the situation. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's not like I'm cooking or doing wine tasting or other stuff. It's just very much of a sit down, but I feel like it was necessary to give you guys a small glimpse into what's happened to me and what's pushed me now to really, you know, take this forward and live a new version of my own life. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's a little bit different. I hope you guys learned something from it. And, you know, always remember to count your blessings, listen to your gut, and live the best life you possibly can for yourself. Be thankful every day that you get to do the things you get to do, whether it be opening your eyes, simply just living, breathing, open up your eyes, being able to walk, talk, you name it, breathe on your own. They're all blessings. And sometimes we forget. We go through life, it's fast, it's on the fast lane. We're always on the fast lane trying to do the next big thing, but we really need to stop and smell the roses. So I'm thankful that I am here today. Thank you for being here. If you made it this far, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notifications so you guys are notified every single time I post a new video. And I'll see you guys on my next video. Peace.